we start with basic and it gets really complex. We start from some basic shapes such as triangle, rectangle, circles, and then sphere, and then it builds up. What I want you to do is, I would like you to keep these shapes in mind because you have learned in class. And as we go through the presentation, you will see how these basic shapes, they're like the alphabets of further complex geometry, arts, design, and all of that stuff that you have learned recently. And take a look at this beautiful picture of art from Persia, from Iran. This is really developed from those basic shapes that we talked about. And we're going to go through that, we're going to talk about it. Okay. I want to bring your attention, well, I don't have internet access here, that's fine. So we go through the presentation that we have.
I need you to move away. Not to the side, move away.
I have it on the video. Now we'll play some music in the background for you also, as we go through this. And I'll tell you to play the music. Start a few pieces of software. That was, I think, Real Play. The other one I have is called Audacity, which is written by somebody from Google and Carnegie Mellon. This is a music software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a piece of music from Alyssa that she played at the global concert that she did. And it's Persian music. See if I can find it. Loading it. It's loading. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this animation. This is an animation of a shape that you're going to see about some ancient architectures in Iran and Persia. If we go back thousands of years, they have developed and they have evolved in terms of the geometry and the shapes that they have been evolving one on top of each other because it's based on an evolution. Very ancient people, they created some shapes, and people developed it, and a kind of a pattern and a motif was created through Persia, which is being also used in India and in China. That has expanded for design of Persian carpets, design of Persian architecture. Then this is thousands of years ago. Then 1500 years ago when Islam came to the Middle East and Prophet Muhammad came, the concept of mosques started. And it was similar to the concept of church, the Gothic church and a synagogue, based on the biblical religions. And they started developing an architecture for mosque. It really came from Iran. And it was evolved, and it's called Islamic art. It's really Persian art, but it was given to the Islamic world. Now, if you take a look at Taj Mahal, that's one of the ancient buildings in India. It's built around the same time, which is in a place in Iran. Also, they built them before, a few hundred years before. It's called Isfahan. We're going to take a look at these. Now, when you take a look at this animation, take a focus on the center and the corners, because you know in geometry you have dimensions. And those dimensions, as I showed you the alphabets of geometry, when you mix them and you design different shape, focus on the symmetrical shape of the pieces that they are put together. Because it's very important, because some of the Persian artists, they just go create one small piece and they do a lot of repetition. And the small pieces themselves, they're based on the geometric formulas that we looked at, you know, the surface, the corners, and the angles, and all of that. But when they put them together, it's a repetition based on series of theories of mathematics. They just repeat them. Now, in the old days, they used to write a formula and draw them on huge, large pieces of paper, like this room when they design a Persian carpet or they design a building. But today, they do them on computers. So take a look at this one as we play the music from Melissa, and also you enjoy this. pause here and take a look back and a little bit analyze it. I have another video as well. As you saw from here, when we did the animation, it was particularly right here. As you see the center, right here, and then take a look at the corners, how they are evolving and they're developing. So slowly it becomes larger and larger. We go through it again. I'm going to stop right there. A lot of repetition. As you see the corners as they're expanding. And then the entire shape. Here you have, right now they're showing it in 2 dimensions. We're going to go into the 3 dimensions, which is the space really. Because geometry, you start in 2 dimensions for a plane or a plate, like on the board. And then when it's in real life, it's in a space, it occupies a volume of space, air. And that is 3-dimensional. 3-dimensionals requires a lot of imagination. And to design something, you should have really have had something in your mind or just in your brain from the past in order to create something new that you have to change it. Now, as you can see, when it brings down the shape, you will see the 3 dimensions coming down. Now it's looking at it from the top, the dome, and then it goes from inside. How they multiply, they replicate. And the very important part is that you have to keep your symmetry in place. It has to be a mirror image of each part. When you go into these buildings, we're going to look at more buildings and architecture. When you go into them, the interesting point is when you observe them, when you stay in one point and take a look at the other sides, they are exactly the same. So for that reason, I have another presentation right here, which shows you how you can create and replicate some of these shapes. This is just starts from a circle, and we'll go through how it gets created. I think it's right here. I'm not going to disturb you with music. I'm going to let this video run, which is showing you how we can create the circles and then replicate them. Now, when I was in high school in Iran, we had a class called graphics and drawing. It was required, we had to take it. We had to take geometry first, and then you had to do these shapes. We had to do them, we had to write a formula for them, and we had to also paint them. It was mathematics and arts, hand in hand. Now that course sometimes helps me when I want to design something for my work. Just focus on the center and the line, what it is doing. started with a dot. Remember the circumference, the area, the pi, the formula for calculation, radius. All of those they apply here. But he's applying them like in his mind, what he's doing by measuring. Okay, he's repeating. One more. Now the intercept. Now what he's doing here is if you take a look at a Persian carpet, pretty much you see in the center of it you see a medallion, and then the design evolves around it. That's the same thing for ceilings and architectures, and we're going to see more. We're going to see another video. It's connecting the corners. As I told you, if you focus on the center and the corners, that's all geometry is about. Dimensions. Okay, so take a look at this and focus on where he started with the simple, the center, and then how he draw the first circle, and then just symmetrically he multiply that concept to all of them. And I think he's going to paint some of it, darker shaded, and we'll see how visually it's going to change.